Hey, so you gotta believe me here. The past few days we've been talking about the Montreal Canadiens and their goaltending situation, and in particular we've been discussing how Cayden Primo has not been good this season. We've been talking about how Sami Montembeault has had some good moments, but for the most part he hasn't been necessarily fantastic either. And so this video is taking an entirely different perspective on Habs goaltending. Because today, we are talking about a Canadiens goaltender in the NCAA who has been so good and who has had so much hype around him that this sort of an update goes against everything we thought this prospect provided. Today we're talking about Jacob Fowler in yet another video commentary, but this time we're not going to be talking just about how good he has been. Because it's true that Jacob Fowler is probably the best Montreal Canadiens goaltender prospect in the system right now. 19 years old, out of Melbourne, Florida, 6'2", 214, left-handed catching guy, drafted by the Habs in the 69th overall spot in 2023. Very nice prospect, very nice draft position, and this season with BC, he's gotten himself a .943 save percentage. He's 7-1-0 with 3 shutouts in 9 games played. He's got a .155 goals against average, and doing all of this at the ripe old age of 19 seriously puts him amongst the top goaltenders in the entire NCAA. This, of course, is not the update we're talking about. Oh, he's one of the best guys in the entire league. Great. He's 13th overall in save percentage, and if you go by goals against, he is still one of the top players overall. That's great and all, but the reason we're talking about Jacob Fowler today is because he might actually have some snarl that we did not expect. Because if you take a look at Fowler's most recent game, you'll see that he ended up losing in a game against the University of Connecticut. He let in 3 goals and had an .893 save percentage in only 24 minutes time on ice. The team lost 5-4, but he only let in 3 goals, which means that there were 2 more goals that were let in without him, and he only played half the game. What happened here, and how did this go down? Well, if you go onto Twitter and you search for Jacob Fowler's name, you'll find what exactly happened with this guy, and oh boy, it is not pretty. Because Jacob Fowler ended up giving a goal up to the University of Connecticut player in front, and this is what happened here. So the play comes in, you can see the Yukon guys breaking into the zone, beautiful pass out in front, the goaltender tracks the puck into the middle, the player comes in on goal, he ends up taking a shot, it beats Fowler, and the player ends up sliding into Fowler's crease and taking Fowler out. The goal is scored, Fowler gets pushed out past the blue paint, and you can see the player is still down there on the ice. Fowler, then immediately afterwards, decides to load up and take a swing, full-on punches the guy who is down on the ice celebrating his goal. Fowler straight up decked a dude who ended up running into him in the crease and ended up scoring that goal. You can see the scrum that ensues, and this sparked a whole bunch of conversation and controversy about Fowler and this moment. Now, look, I'm not going to go out there and defend anybody in this situation, but I will attack this from all sides. Firstly, the player that was walking in, he kind of got tripped a little bit, not really tripped, he kind of stumbled as he took the shot. The puck was already in the net before Jacob Fowler got hit, so it's not like the goal should have been called back, but Jacob Fowler getting taken wildly out of the play, he's so far behind the goal line by the end of it, and decking the guy right after. I'm not going to go out there and say that this was completely unwarranted. If a goaltender gets fully taken out, sometimes goalies can fight back. They will fight back in some circumstances, and Jacob Fowler does exactly that. He gets the boot from the game because of it. He got ejected for roughing. This is what BC head coach Brown said about Jacob Fowler's ejection. I'm sure he was frustrated with how we weren't playing nearly tight enough in front of him. A guy went crashing through him in the crease. I think the combination of how the game was going and the fact that the guy made contact as he went through and the puck ended up in the net, it had him react not in his normal, even-keeled fashion. Because to me, when I think about goalies losing their cool, losing their temper, getting all aggressive and hyperactive, overreacting to things, I think about Jordan Binnington, honestly. Like, he's the main guy that does stuff like this in the NHL. And honestly, I don't really think there's anybody else that fights back in that sort of a way. Maybe if you wanted to say Fleury, but he's kind of earned the right to do that once in a while. And I think the only main thing that happened with that was him going up against Binnington. Realistically, goalies that kind of succumb to the mental game and allow themselves to get consumed within it, they do have themselves a little bit of a lower shelf life, we could say, in terms of being effective goaltenders. But still, it doesn't mean that goalies that exhibit this sort of aggressiveness or aggression will necessarily be bad. It's not necessarily indicative of guys declining in play. It's just sort of a trend that I've noticed. Either way, Jacob Fowler being in the spot where he defends his crease, he defends his own space, and he gets upset by punching the guy in the back, it's kind of interesting because Canadiens fans are responding to this in a pretty expected way. This moment was posted onto the Habs subreddit, and some of the comments go out there and say this, hey, I don't mind that. LOL, I prefer it. And for those of y'all who might be wondering, why are Canadiens fans on board with this? Why is this okay? Well, the next reply goes out there and says, hey, he's getting ready for Chris Kreider. Perfect. Ah, yes, the old revenge story on one Chris Kreider, because when he took out Carey Price all those years ago, you could say that that kind of thing was needed, a response, the goalie fighting for his own space and standing up for himself. Not that Carey Price did not end up doing that, it's just with some of the inevitabilities and the trauma the Canadiens fans have endured the past few years when it comes to goaltenders getting pushed around and potentially hurt, this right here is a totally reasonable response. Channeling his inner Carey Price, Let's Do 30 says, my kind of goalie. Don't screw with me in the crease. A zero-tolerance policy. We've all seen how that kind of action, driving into the crease and taking out a goalie with full speed, can end careers. My GOAT. So obviously, you're seeing a lot of Canadiens fans responding in a positive way. I mean, a lot of these other comments say good on him, he's like Patrick Waugh, I like Fowler even more, but either way, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. What you think about this entire moment here. It's not like Fowler is a bad goalie whose only value is being brought on by being physical. That's absolutely not the case. He is fantastic as a goalie. It's just that he happens to have this sort of side to him, I guess you could say, that differs from his even-keeled fashion, that even the coach went out there and responded to, saying, yeah, he's normally a lot more calm, he's composed, but this, along with the game, how the game was going, the moment itself, and how the team wasn't really defending tight enough, it kind of all pushed him into that spot where he allowed himself to be that guy. He allowed the beast to come out and fully present itself by clocking a guy in the head and getting removed from the game because of it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Montreal Canadiens top goalie prospect Jacob Fowler getting ejected for roughing the other night. And what do you think this means for the development of him and his overall game? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99 and bye.